Welcome back, everyone. Today I've got Jordan Potts, also known as the Conscious Carnivore. Jordan and I, we don't know each other too well, but we've got affiliations, and I think we think very similar. Jordan's very vocal on social media about various topics, but mostly meat and his consumption with that. But where I actually met him was at his old gym, Exalto. He ran a breathwork evening, which I can remember just about having a seizure. I was going so deep with that, but that was awesome. Jordan has a love for ice baths and eating healthy. And we're going to touch on family as well, hopefully, and how you're raising your little boy, whether he's eating as much meat as you are. And I think this podcast will be good because as everything we speak about is finding stillness in all areas of your life. And I think Jordan actually does live that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, brother. It feels good to see. It's been first podcast in probably... Wow, a long time actually.
Really?
Yeah, long time. I can't even remember. It would have been last year sometime, but I haven't done a podcast in about a year. So yeah, it's exciting. It feels good to be back behind the mic.
Take a few minutes to get used to it.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know your story, to be honest. Like I know from Exalto onwards, basically, but what got you into the health journey? Because I'm sure a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
Listening.
Cool. So I'll keep it as suffice as possible. Really simply, I was like a go-hard little kid. And it's interesting watching my son now because I see so much of myself in him. Like I was like the happiest, go-luckiest, just fit, climbing everything, full of energy, full throttle kid, right? And then we moved to Noosa from Brisbane and just went to a whole new level with water sports, surfing, it just so active. And then my parents randomly split up. Like I remember being a young kid and just being like, what's happening to my world right now?
How old were you?
9. And
yeah.
Mum and Dad said, I'm going to be leaving the house. Your mother and I are separating. And I would just remember feeling like I got stabbed in the heart. Like it was literally like, it was like my whole world. I thought my parents were perfect. We had this like loving relationship and this family. We had so much fun. And then I was just like, holy shit, what? And so being a young kid, I had no idea how to manage those emotions, right? So I distinctly remember going from like a happy frother to like this sarcastic kind of narcissistic little boy. Like I was kind of always chipping at people and I had this like chip on my shoulder of like, fuck the world.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized, well, I didn't realize back then, but now thinking about it, the emotional shift in my whole life caused such a myriad of issues that led me basically all the way until I was 23 and had a drug overdose, fell out of a tree and ended up in a coma.
Yeah. Right.
And that was things like, bullying, overeat, like binge eating, multiple injuries, like ACL reconstruction, broken collarbones, broken bones, left, right, and center playing footy. I was just so angry as a kid. And I was also very sarcastic. So I was the class clown. I was, bullying other kids because I was getting bullied as well. And so it's just like this vicious cycle of emotion that I didn't know how to process or deal with. And unfortunately, I didn't have the support. First of all, my parents were going through a heap. And then I kind of, young Aussie kid growing up, you don't have the support of your mates around you because you just take the piss out of everyone and kind of survive. And I also didn't really have any mentors or role models because I was the oldest of the family. And so I didn't know how to handle it. And I drove myself, basically, I was seeking love, attention, acceptance in every single thing I did between the ages of 9 and 23. And that led me into early drugs, early partying, drinking, destroying my body. And when I found drugs and alcohol, I was 17, I found this escape and I was like, this is a really cool thing for me to do because I can escape how I feel day to day, all of this shit that's going on. And I can literally, it's just like I'm living in a dream. So I'd get high started on pingers, then I got high a few times on weed and it rocked me. I was the most anxious, like brought out so much of my emotional issues. So I didn't really smoke weed, but I loved pingers. I loved coke. And then, like just smoking basically anything that was going. I will say I didn't smoke ice. I'm proud that I rejected ice. The one time I was offered it, I did actually draw the line there. And I was like, nah, boys, that's not me. So that's one thing I'm proud of. But I've tried a few things. And that led me to this area in my life where I was chasing the highs on the weekend because it was escaping me out of the lows in the week. And I got to a really bad point where I would be driving on my own late at night, you know, as a P plater, contemplating how to run into the tree or run the car off the edge of a hill or whatever. I was having those thoughts of like, okay, if I committed to this, I don't have to live in this anymore. And that was really scary. And I put up with that it was a good solid 2 years. I remember I had crazy skin issues. I was overweight. I was taking heaps of drugs, partying. I was hanging with a crew that supported that lifestyle. And anyway, I eventually taking drugs for me was like an attempt at death. It was like, I don't actually care if I die doing this. So I'm going to get so sideways every time I do it.
So you pushed it like having 3, 4, 5, just kept having more pills.
3, 4, 5.
20.
Yeah, I was, it's really sad to think about where I was and what I was hiding as a human. I think people knew because I was a bit reckless, but I also masked it with like this facade of like, yeah, I'm frother, like, yeah, let's get fucked up, you know, like this whole party attitude. I literally thought I was a professional partier. Yeah. I was like, I'm born to be a party. Like this is my. If I could get paid to do this, this would be my career. I'd be the best in the world. So that was like kind of mentality. Anyway, I overdosed one day at Splendor. I was, you know, in a tree and fell out 10 meters. Bang! Ended up having epileptic fit, convulsing, airlifted to hospital. And then woke up out of an induced coma 3 days later. And that moment for me was quite a pinnacle shift because I realised, like, waking up with tubes down my throat and looking at my dad across the room, just thinking like, well, what happened? I nearly actually died. And so from that moment, I decided I'm going to return to that little 9-year-old frother that's just full of energy, fit and healthy, can do anything he wants, you know, just fully capable to live life. And that's going on 7 years ago. So basically I've lived that out for the last 7 years and I've learned as much as I can to do with health, wellness, the mind, the body, to put me in a position where I'm in control.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't need vices and I don't need to escape in things that are detrimental for me. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That whole journey through drugs from 9 to 23, obviously you weren't doing drugs at 9, but from 9 to 23 when you were miserable, how much do you reckon not having a father in your life actually played on that? Like, have you thought about the importance of your father then?
Yeah, I need to make something super clear because my dad often listens to these as well. He's a legend. He's a fucking legend. And where he's at now in his journey is like, I'm so proud of him. It makes me, like, my heart proper smiles with the work he's doing on himself and how much he's kind of like turned his mind around and the way he's kind of repairing or has repaired and the way he's going about his relationship with us kids and to be there as a grandfather as well, like to Indy. So dad necessarily wasn't not there. He was still present. We were going from houses like each week. We were doing like week on, week off. He was there. However, his world was crumbling. Like business, you know, he used to be a Christian, so his whole religion was kind of crumbling under his feet when he had some revelations with stuff around that. And then he kind of was like, this is my whole world's shattered and I've still got to support these kids. So he was working. He was still putting food on the table. He was still present. The thing I've reflected on, though, is that he wasn't taught to manage his emotions. Basically, most men aren't taught how to manage their emotions, and most men aren't taught how to navigate life when it gets challenging, all right? We usually go to aggressive sports, or we go to drinking culture, or we go to, you know, gaming or, you know, some sort of vice. So that's what I think is missing. And I think if I can do one thing for Indy, my son, as a role model, is teach him to slow down, take a breath, to process what's going on in his mind and his heart and his feelings and start to use it as power to create change.
Yep.
So instead of running away from things or instead of masking them and putting them, you know, chucking them under the rug, actually having the courage to face it and going like, hey, I feel really stressed, or I feel I feel really depressed, or I feel anxious, or I'm feeling nervous, or whatever. Face your emotions and have the skills to process them and use them as power. So that's what I think was the lacking area. And I didn't have any role models around me, whether it was my dad, whether it was coaches, whether it was mates, role model, even teachers and stuff. I see it so often. I've done work in schools, and I see these kids, these young boys, desperate for attention, desperate for acceptance and affection. So they're being the class clown or a dickhead at school. They're bullying other kids, or trying to sweeten up the girls, but it's all an act. They're so insecure, and I can see it in them when I go into these places, because I'm like, it's exactly what I used to do, and I felt like shit. And when I watch them and I watch the behavior, I'm like, you can see the difference between someone who's confident and stable in themselves versus someone who's seeking.
Yep.
And in young boys in school environments, it's very interesting to observe. And we would go in there and we'd do breath work, and I'd talk to them about how important as a man it is that you get your shit together internally so that you don't abuse anyone or make a mistake that's going to, cause a lot of ruckus in your life, or if you don't have control of your external actions because your inside is just turmoil. Yep. It's really important to get a grip on that. And they would always have resistance, be like, oh, this is gay shit, or this is, I don't want to do breath work. Oh, well, let's go to the gym or whatever. And I'd be like, boys, if you don't get a grip on this, it's going to flip your world upside down, and you're not going to know how to control it. Get stable, control it, learn how to address the stuff that's going on. And confidence, humble and confidence is one of the most attractive things I reckon a man can be for a woman. It's just, it's who I am.
Exactly. I agree.
Not seeking anything.
And the more you go down this path, the quicker you realize that what your inner world is exactly what your external will manifest as. So, like you said, if you got a horrible internal, you're miserable, your external's just going to mirror that. The reason I asked that question is because my parents separated, I think I was 12, 13, and I've since reflected on things that I did that I know that if Dad was around, it wasn't not around, like we'd go see him and, he was there, exactly the same as you. Didn't regulate his emotions that well, like we'd have run-ins, we'd yell at each other, all that kind of thing. But not having Dad physically in the house meant, which I don't even know if it was conscious, but unconsciously I knew I'd get away with things. Like Mum couldn't stop it. You know what I mean? As a teenage, 15, like I got kicked out of grammar for selling weed. I got house raided like a few years later for also selling weed, like house parties, all like when Mum was away. And I'm just like, I've reflected on the house parties, and I'm like, would I have done this if Dad was in the house? Like when they were away, had a house party, knowing that I'd get my absolute fucking ass handed to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas with Mum, it's just like they tell you off and that's it. There's no like kind of physical dominance that's like this person will eat me if I fuck him over sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely could have played a part. In saying that, I did have people over to my dad's unit drinking when he wasn't there. So I think depending on the individual, you just got to learn some hard lessons, right? But definitely having, I think it comes back to also having standards and boundaries in place in the home.
Yeah.
I heard something really great the other day from Tucky Moore, who's a business coach. He said, with children, have less rules but repeat them more often, and just be strong in your boundaries. And that way they can really understand you. Instead of, I think about it, with Indy, so often, you don't want to be that parent. No, don't do that. No, don't. It's like it's so easy to do when they're running around the road or riding a bike, whatever, touching the hot pan or whatever. It's easy to do that. No, and just have like this bombarding of like constant control. So if it's like if I can as a parent have some solid boundaries around some basic rules of life, and then there's a lenience either side of that, but we always reinforce the lesson and we always reinforce the intention behind the boundary. I think that's going to be a really strong way to help him make better decisions. Now, I'm sitting here as a young, naive father of 2 years with very little, life experience with, in fact, very little, zero life experience with teenagers, like getting into that preteen age where they start. So it's all in theory, right?
Yeah.
And we got it all ahead of us. But it's interesting to see how certain changes reflect in your child's behaviour. It's really, really, it's a cool experiment, and I'll very much look forward to it. So,
well, that experiment you did where I don't know if you went to Lombok or something, you went away and you fed vegetable oil and stuff to your boy for a week.
Yeah.
And then he just ran around like crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. We just got this canola oil and just started. So I mean that was a huge experiment. It was actually unintentional because we moved to Bali and we had all our meat sources and we were getting organic butter over there, and basically we were eating really well. We basically ate in every day with our food over there because it's either you're paying through the roof for tourist prices, or you're eating local food, which good on them, but it's not the best quality. Yeah. So for us over there, it was like, all right, we eat our own food, we cook it. We have everything. We were getting Aussie grade beef that's imported. We're getting butter. All the organic produce that Nick has was made sure we got it decent. And then we went to Lombok. We were basically kind of like ended up in the shit house, and we had to kind of travel around. And so we decided to go to Lombok for a bit. We went to Lombok and we kind of got out of our way. We didn't have a meat supplier. We didn't have, there wasn't much organic produce and stuff. So we kind of like, all right. So we just ended up doing the restaurant hopping for the week we were there, and didn't notice in the first few days, like Nick and I definitely noticed a little bit of like digestive stuff, like farting, gas, a bit of bloating, whatever after meals. And then it was about 3 days in, and Indy had never thrown like one of those like kicking, screaming tantrums, like throwing shit. Like he's such a placid kid. And 3 days in, he just started like, he was so frustrated and angry for some reason. And he was like, we'd be in a restaurant and he'd be like throwing the menu and stomping on it. And Nick and I are like, what's going on? Like, you all right, buddy? Like, what's happening? And it kept going for like days and days and days. And we're thinking, what is going on? And then we kind of linked two and two together. We're like, well, we haven't really had a quality meal in nearly a week now. And we knew we were going back to Bali in a few days. We're like, all right, let's just play it out. We're not going to come down on him hard. Let's just see how he goes. And he was like proper nuts, like gritting his jaw, like, holding his breath, doing that full tantrum stuff. And we're sitting there going like, this is crazy. Like this behavioral change is nuts. So we go back to Bali and we decide just to put him on meat and fruit. And so, we got good quality fruit and we got good quality meat, nothing else. Butter, no seed oils, no nothing. And literally the first day, he's still kind of like getting it out of his system. Second day, back to his normal self.
Yeah, right.
And Nick and I just went, holy shit. Like to see it night and day, the change. And when you're a parent, it's emotionally taxing when your child's running amok, like crying, like going nuts. You have to stay calm, otherwise it just gets you so riled up as well, and then you start butting heads. So yeah, having that change come back so quickly, and him just be like, yeah, cool, back to frothing, cuddles, kisses, and it was like, wow. And while it's not a direct correlation, to me it's like watching it going, okay, I wonder if more kids or more families, more parents just decided, okay, we're not going to feed the kids junk, and let's have a look at the influence on their behavior over, say, a month period. Yeah. Because how many kids are processing toxins, all this rubbish, seed oils, glyphosate, all the stuff that's in our food system that they just so readily just consuming, refined sugars, everything that's just driving their nervous systems into like fight or flight. These kids are literally like panicking on the inside, and the parents are like, settle down, like quit it, stop, shh.
As if that's going to do anything.
Like they internally got this like explosion of chemicals happening because of the shit food you're feeding them. So, I think it's definitely a rabbit hole because unfortunately we live in a world of convenience. We live in a world of ease, and all of this stuff's easy to access. So the hardest thing about becoming healthy is actually choosing not to do the easy option.
Yeah, everything.
It's the hard, with everything in life. Yeah. But with food especially, because it is so easy. For instance, say you get thrown out of whack and you don't have time to cook a good meal. What do? Well, there's takeaway, there's, just go to Woolies and just get some random shit. We'll just, whatever. It's like, it's not set up for you to be healthy. If you're out on a limb, it's you going even to a restaurant and getting a takeaway XYZ can cause serious gut issues, can cause behavioral issues, can cause this stuff. Now, I'm not trying to be the kind of the Grinch here and be like, never have, that stuff again, because I like I'm a bit of a 95-5. I personally say fuck you to the 80-20 because no one knows how to control the 20%. Yeah. So for me, it's like 95 meat and fruit. And then there's 5% there where I can have, pizza or some ice cream or, whatever if I'm randomly feeling like it, but very, very rarely.
I kind of agree with you actually on the 80-20 because 20 quickly turns into 25 and becomes 30, and then before you know it, you're out of whack.
Back to your old ways.
Yeah, whereas 5, you can notice, fuck, I'm at 10, stop. And just cut it straight back to 100.
And 5 in your head as a metaphor is like minuscule.
Yeah.
So 95, 5. 95% of the time, I'm bang on with my nutrition. Like I'm bang on with high quality, nutrient dense food, which I know is going to replenish me and nourish me in the ways I want. And then there's a 5%, which is this much.
95.5 must be like 20 days a year, I reckon. Around that.
You want to calculate it?
That's not much. If you
what's
think
5% of 365?
18 days.
Yeah.
So that's
good.
Not
that's
much.
A good guess.
That's like
your maths is way better than me.
It's like just over 1 day a month you can just.
And that's basically me. I'm even probably less than that.
Yeah.
But like I don't live, even still, I'm not like, it has to be 95.5. That's my mentality to it. So, because, for instance, a lot of people ask me this, like, oh, can you do meat forever? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can, if you want to. Do you want to eat meat forever? Yeah. I personally, carnivore diet healed me. Yeah. Carnivore diet got me out of all of these incredible issues, these psycho issues that I couldn't fix with anything else, even with medicine. And now...
Medicine being...
like... Roaccutane, all kinds of painkillers. All
like Western medicine.
Yeah. So all the drugs. No, not natural medicine, but the pharmaceuticals that I was on.
Yeah.
So carnivore diet really got me out of that hole. And then my coach at the time was like, we want to get you to a point where you can tolerate the other foods. Now, it doesn't mean that you have them all the time, but you can tolerate it without your world turning to shit. Literally. So I was like, yeah, sweet. That sounds like a good goal for me. And now it's such a great tool for me because it's given me the foundation of vitality. Like I'm just thriving all the time. And every now and then I go, right, cool. We want to go and have a pizza. Let's go have a pizza. Like I'm not constrained to like meat only and everything else. It's like, I think that's destroying the whole concept of what it means to be like human, right? Like if I have the ability to travel, to Italy, there's no way I'm not having some pizza and some red wine and some gelato. Like, I'm in Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I know that if I'm back here at home and I regularly have that stuff, I'm going to notice a change in my energy. I'm going to notice a change in my digestion, in my mental health. I'm going to notice it in my irritability, my stillness, everything, because I've been in that world and it was horrible. And now eating a nutrient-dense whole food approach, prioritizing meat, all that stuff's gone. So I think that's a really encouraging way for people to think about it. It's like, okay, how can I build a personal framework around food that is designed to give me health, not pleasure? Because if you eat for pleasure, you'll be a fat, sad, sorry motherfucker. But if you eat for fuel and if you eat for nutrients and vitality, most of the time, you'll achieve it.
I agree. I reverse seared my favourite meat to reverse sear is the rib fillet on the bone.
OP rib.
Yeah, that's great. But I had it the other. I think Alicia was sick or something. She had chicken soup, and so I had a bit of the chicken soup, which is basically broth, and then I had one of them. And the next day, I fucking felt so good. I had the best day, and I hadn't eaten meat for probably like a steak, so red meat. I had heaps of fish because we've been up in Hervey Bay. But I just felt so good, and I'm just like, why are people like not just realize? Like I'm working with all these concreters who are getting up and they're, it was like they were pouring at 3 a.m. and one of them gave me the card to go to the BP. I said this in the last podcast. They wanted a pack of smokes, 6 pies and 3 Vs, and I ditched the Vs, I think, and got them water, and I didn't get them pies. I got them sandwiches. But like they're eating breakfast at the servo. I'm like, you guys are working super hard all day, and you're fueling your body like this. Imagine what you could do. Imagine how much more money you could make, or how much more work you could get done, or how much more better you would serve society if you were fueling your body correctly. But I guess that's the reality we live in, isn't it?
And for them, the money thing is you could make more money, you could, work easier. But for those guys, you could not fucking hate your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because so many of those guys are just like, negativity, your shit, fucking. It's like, bro, forget serving society for a minute. Just get yourself into a positive frame of mind so you're actually a good person to be around, you know? Like, and I'm not saying that that's all tradies. I know it's incredible tradies, but I also did a lot of labouring, and I was a bricklayer for a bit, and those environments are just full of toxic nature, just negativity, bringing down, dragging each other down, all the rubbish that goes on, the banter.
But it really doesn't have to be.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And I've worked with heaps of tradies, and the first thing I say to them, buy yourself a sandwich press and take fresh steaks to work. Grill them from each side, and you're done in a couple of minutes. You have a fresh steak on site. You'll have no after smoko blues where you want to have a sleep.
Yeah.
You'll be straight back into work. You have no hunger in the rest of the arvo looking for snacks.
That's a good idea.
Your energy will be, absolutely chugging the whole way through, and you'll finish, and you'll probably want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, literally, and so many of them, like, bro, literally doing that change.
Yeah.
I don't even need to sleep when I go home. I can have an afternoon instead of going home and sitting on the couch and feeling like shit. Because if you're thrashing your body in a laboursome job, the last thing you want to be doing is topping yourself up with toxic sludge and then having to deal with all of that stress, because the work stress, then you go home, the food you've eaten's created stress, and you're feeling lazy, you're feeling lethargic, so you feel like a fat bastard, and your energy, your motivation, everything gets affected. Make a switch, buy a sandwich press, take it to work and grill some steaks.
I agree. And a lot of people would say steaks are expensive, but if you buy the, what's it called, where you buy the whole bloody rump like that and you just cut
in bulk.
It's like $60 and you get like 20 steaks.
And I constantly say to people, I call bullshit on the expensive thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is another element of the carnivore approach or nutrient-dense approach that I like. If you prioritize nutrient-dense food and you eat when you're hungry until you're satiated or when you don't want to eat anymore, your body will be able to run on that fuel for so long. So you're not needing 3 to 6 meals a day. You're not needing snacks. You're not needing to stop at the server or stopping for takeaway. I ask people constantly about their food expenditure. They'll spend, $100 on meat. They'll spend $100 on, maybe not, maybe $30, $40 on veggies, and then they'll buy some packeted foods, probably $40, $60. They're looking about $200 as a baseline for the week. Then they go and spend $200 on shit as well. So you're spending $400 a week on takeaway coffees, on pies, on smokos, on this, on that, energy drinks. It's like smokes, alcohol. You've just blown your weekly expenses out because you've gone and topped up all this rubbish. How about taking that $200 or $250, putting it in your back pocket and just spending $200 a week on meat?
Yeah. And
you'll be less hungry, no cravings. You'll have crazy energy. You'll get super lean. Your testosterone will go through the roof. Fuck, you get boners in the morning again.
I got a story about that. But first, I wanted to do the test between fucking supermarkets and the markets because, everyone's always like, I can't afford to buy good meat because, whatever, and I'll go to Aldi or go to Coles. But I went to Aldi and I was like, oh, fuck, they are actually really cheap. These steaks are $7. And then I looked at it and I was like, $7. How? And the steak was 100 and maybe it was only 100 grams. Whatever it was, it worked out to be $41 a kilo for a porterhouse. The ones I got at the markets were $39 and they're from Mulaney. So they're like, one, it's local. Two, it's not supporting a German company that's just, massive and destroying our country.
Yeah.
And it's helping a local farmer and it's helping me. and it's cheaper.
Probably better quality.
It's better quality and
nutrients.
it's cheaper. And it's not sitting in plastic getting sucked in.
Yeah.
So the supermarket shit is bullshit. Like, supermarkets are more expensive. They've got a marketing budget to make themselves look cheaper. That's all it is. And if you go there, then, like you said, you go through the only place you should ever shop at a supermarket is the outer one because it's the meat and it's the fruit and veg. All the other aisles are crap. You shouldn't go into them.
Yeah.
So then you get sucked into those ones. You buy some chips, you might buy some lollies or whatever, buy some tinned tuna, and then there goes your budget. You've filled your cupboard with crap.
Yeah.
And you can go to the butcher or you can go to find a farmer and you can buy a whole lamb for $300 and it lasts you like a month and it's $300. But you just need to learn how to cook those other meats and you need to just have a freezer. And it works out like $15 a kilo. It's like there's ways to do it, but
There's
everyone just wants to. There is
there's levels.
And then if you get into organs, they're the cheapest fucking meats ever. But we don't really want everyone knowing that because otherwise they'll go up in price.
Yeah, I mean, good luck. If we get that much of a drive in organs, I'm happy to pay a higher price. If people start getting healthy, let's ramp it up. So I think it's a rabbit hole, man. When you look at the constructs of how our modern worlds are built, health is not the top. They do not want us to be healthy. They don't want us to be wealthy, and they don't want us to live free. They basically want us to live in their constraints. And so if you are shopping in the mainstream propaganda and perspectives on how to eat and shopping at Woolies, Coles, you're eating what's needed to become a statistic, and the statistics are horrible. I don't want to be any part near or anywhere close to the general population. When you look at the statistics around mental health, physical health, disease, like even just like, I think about even like relationships and how easily because they're probably two people that are super sick and like hating they're trying to make a relationship work. So it's like, if we were just healthy, thriving, full of life, and could be there to support each other and actually love this experience that's life, it would be such a better world. And I know I don't have to push that fact. It's clear, obviously, but it's simple. It's like, get back to really simple ways of living. So simple being, you don't have to go to the groceries, go to the groceries twice a week or every week, get your stock in bulk, have freezers, have this, get food delivery, get an organic box delivered to you. It's going to save you in time and effort and all the other shit that you buy when you go there. There is so many ways to set yourself up to gain back time, to gain back energy, to gain back health. And if you're not simplifying your life, you're making it harder. So I think it's such a big thing that people they're so consumed in go, all this and they're just grinding, absolutely grinding. And it's like, dude, life is so epic. It can be so epic. It can also be very hard, but take the necessary steps to make life simple. I think simple life is where I'm getting at. It is beautiful.
And I think, life is hard and life is suffering, and there's you can choose to create suffering for yourself that makes it harder, that ultimately gives you a reward, or you can fall into the easy path where you're still going to suffer regardless, but you don't get any reward for it. Like when you eat shit food, you suffer because you're, everything we've said, you're tired, you get overweight, you lose your sex drive, everything's horrible. But if you, get nutrient-dense food and you go to the gym and you do breath work and all the hard things, they suck, but then they're so good. There's a reward for it. So you can choose to live life of suffering with a reward or just life of suffering. Yeah.
And it's funny because it sucks for only a small percentage at the start.
Yeah.
Because once you get the return, for instance, and this may sound contradictory, but I love eating organic 2-day fermented sourdough pizza. Fucking bang. Hits the nail on the head. It's so tasty. I love pizza. But if I eat a steak, I enjoy it almost more now because of the way my lifestyle. I actually enjoy doing, and for instance, the gym. People say, "Oh, going to the gym's tough." It can be it's strenuous and it's hard on your body. You got to push. Yes, but when you're doing it, there's this love-hate relationship. You just love. There's something about human nature where you just love that part of the struggle that is making you better. Yep. And so you actually become more attracted to the struggle or the hardship because you're getting so much growth out of it.
Yep.
So it's, in a way, yes, it's hard and it sucks, but it's also the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
I think I've learned so much about myself in those hard moments, in the hard sessions when I'm, sitting in stillness and, working through some stuff, or, having meeting myself the resistance with the ice bath. If I ever look at the ice bath and I'm like, oh no, not today. I'm like, you motherfucker, get over there and sit in that ice bath. And that's the enjoyment of it. It's you can call yourself out on your own shit. So I think that's such an enjoyable part of that whole process of leaning into that hardship. And we're just not encouraged to do it. We're so driven towards comfort, and comfort is literally the killer.
Have you ever tried semen retention?
I have. I thought you might bring this up. I have. I went 3.5 months.
Yep.
And I felt good for probably the first, and this come from, I'll pre-frame it for everyone. I used to masturbate, I reckon probably 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, right.
When I was, well, I mean, it started early. Like I started looking at porn pretty early, like 13, like 12, 13 on the bus, you know, and then you kind of get your own phone or whatever. But then like really bad, like in my maybe 19, 20, early 20s, I'd masturbate like in the morning when I woke up. Then I'd like when I got home from work, maybe I'd have a shower and masturbate, and then like every night before bed I'd masturbate.
Yeah, right.
So I was like fully,
Chronic.
I was yanking it.
You can speak.
I was pushing to the limit. So and it became an addiction in itself. That little dopamine squirt on the brain when you're like, oh yeah, sick. There's like that's an addictive cycle.
Yeah.
And so I eventually, I eventually quit porn, doing a mentorship. One of my first mentorships with Keegan Smith. He used to speak a lot about porn's a killer, like for any man, like should be watching it. So I took the means to quit back then. I relapsed a few times in a few years, but basically like it's gone. There's no need for it. Fully aware of the destruction that happens with it and the addictive cycles. So yeah, I actually last year just and it was interesting because it was when Nick was pregnant, and then it was kind of like not happening. I know I'm gonna try this thing, like I may as well. And yeah, went like 2.5 months feeling really good, and then started noticing that I was feeling unmotivated, and so I read up on it a little bit, and they're like, yeah, while it's beneficial to push for ages, it's also good to have like a routine, not just be like ejaculating all the time, but be on a bit more of a schedule. So I find for myself now, it's like once every 2 weeks. I feel like this rush of creativity and zest, and it's really interesting. And then when I do ejaculate, it's done in a conscious way, like even in intercourse with Nick, and in an intimate way, or self pleasure. So it's been such a journey for me going. I know you're on the 100, right? You're doing the 100?
I've started again, yeah. Well, that was why I brought it up, because there's a guy that I know. The reason I did is because a mate of mine going through a similar thing that, well, he wasn't, I wouldn't say he was nearly at that level, like morning and night, but porn and just, masturbation. And he was also vegetarian. And he got his bloods done. His testosterone was like 5 or something, and he's like our age. But bro, like he's like 40 days now. Every day I'm getting messages like, "Fuck, I don't know what to do with all my energy." Like he's eating meat again. He's eating heaps of lamb. He can't eat cow because of his religion. But bro, just the energy. He's like, I've just never. It's like I ate meat and got energy, and now I'm retaining my semen, and I've just got too much energy. I don't know what to do with it all. But I do think you do hit a point where it's like everyone's like, "Fuck, it must be crazy getting 300 days." I think all it was is that was last year. I did that. I got to probably 100 days, and then it's just the same. You're like, you no longer crave sex. You no longer crave everything. You're essentially just in this monk mode, and you might get the craving for it, but you can easily observe it and just go, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I would say that the most benefits come from 30 days and 60 days, and then after that, it's kind of like, I don't know, there's too much difference.
Yeah, then it's almost like a commitment to a milestone, right?
Yeah.
Like it is, and I do see that as like that's a part of it. And for some people, it's a fully useful tool. It's like if you're like crazy hooked on porn and, masturbating, it's like, dude, commit to a long period, whether it's 90 or 100 days, commit to it and don't fucking break it to prove to yourself that you're a man of your word.
Yeah.
100%. For me, I did it from an experimentation thing of like, all right, I'm just going to stop and I'm just going to see how long I go. And I got to that like kind of 3-month period, and I actually noticed that going like every 2 weeks, I had that energy, like that life force in my body, and I was being creative and focused and everything. I was feeling good in the gym, and energy was up. And then I didn't get to that kind of like flat period because it was weird. It did like flatten out where I was starting to get, and maybe I needed to go within even deeper and sit with those feelings, but I started to feel a bit more irritable and losing motivation and stuff. So I kind of like felt like it was like the other side of the peak.
Yep.
So, yes.
I did Vipassana at probably 100 days accidentally last year. Like I booked it and then I just so happened to be there. And it was the most disciplined I've ever done it. Like it's a pretty militant sort of practice, like up at 4 and meditate all day. And I didn't miss any, and I'd sit there for like 2 hours sometimes and just not move. And like I was just so determined for it. And I think that did play a part in, not having that extra energy in there. But you do need, I think, learn how to move that around your body. I believe that probably 65 days it said in the book Multi-Orgasmic Man. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
I think it was 65 days. Maybe it wasn't that book, but 65 days it takes to replenish your actual sperm. Otherwise, you're just replenishing seminal fluid. So it's like 65 days before you actually top right up again. That next 30 days probably isn't much different.
Because I saw something, and I'm going to butcher this, it was a principle with Chinese or something, and it was like dependent on your age, you've got more tolerance. So it's like if you're under 20, you can go within every 2 weeks, or under 7 days or something, and then like 20 to 30 is 2 weeks, 30 to 40, 3 weeks, and then it like kind of has these like incremental jumps as you get older, that you don't want to be ejaculating too often because it's really sucking the energy out of you.
I wonder if it's got anything, I have read that as well, I wonder if it's got anything to do with the way your testosterone starts to lower. And I wonder if there is any correlation between retaining that and increase in testosterone. But yeah, it is interesting because Alicia and I met last year just as I kind of like was at the end of it, and then you get back into a cycle of having sex more, and then I started noticing, I mean, I can't just blame sex because, moving in with someone and complete lifestyle change, went from eating meat to being with a nutritionist who's feeding me vegetables, so I'll blame that. But like things, I noticed like in myself, like, go to have a cold shower and like, nah, fuck it. And like, I would just turn the hot on. Whereas now, ever since I started that again, like, I started doing breathwork again. I'd look at the cold shower and I just go, fuck you, and turn it on. And like in Melbourne, I had a couple cold showers and they were a lot harder than up here.
So good.
But,
so good.
But like I noticed a lot of these disciplines coming back from just, you create one of the hardest things, which is retaining from your sexual craving, which I believe is one of the hardest things. It is such a powerful energy. Maybe food and sex are probably on par because we need food to survive, and we all crave sex from the moment we're 12. But I think you become disciplined in that, and the rest of your life starts to become more disciplined.
I think as a human, this is a standby rule that really benefits everyone, but especially for men. It's quite literally just committing to your word.
Yeah.
And the more you can stick by your word and follow through, you build that self-trust. And it's I think it is also the relationship with yourself. You trust yourself. You're not you don't have hollow words. I'm not perfect with my word because, heaps of stuff's going on and whatever, and I'm still working on being like, if I say something, that it actually gets done. But the more I follow through on my word, the better I feel in myself, and the better that then ripples out to everyone else. And I've noticed things like committing to training daily, committing to some sort of routine that reinforces you fucking did it.
Yeah.
You said you were going to do it and you did it. And it might literally, and this is what I work with people as well, it doesn't have to be change the world shit. It's specific to you. It could be, man, just get up or just, prepare your clothes the night before. That's all I want you to do for 30 days. Can you just do that? It's like the simplest thing. And then, okay, you've got that habit in, you've got a little bit of trust. Holy shit, I did that for 30 days. Maybe I can, all right, I'll add something else. Maybe it's a glass of water in the morning before anything else. Start simple, but you start building in this identity of someone who does what they're going to say. And the more you can bring that into your life, the more you'll thrive, because you can do it in your life, your relationships, your health, your business, your work, whatever. You can just go, right, I'm a man, I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it's a journey. It's a journey because we are bombarded with distractions, with stimulus, with, external validation, acceptance, and, all of these things, these flashy lights going on.
Yeah.
If you can zone it in and actually complete tasks that reinforce who you are as a person, that character just gets stronger and stronger. So, yeah, I think when you're retaining, you've got that commitment. Foundation. You've got that decision. And then the other thing is like, yeah, sweet, I do this, cold shower, bang.
Yeah.
Food, bang, I'm not going to eat that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%.
And you said you don't change the world, but ultimately, the more you improve you, the more you do change the world, because your actions then ripple out and, change your community, change your family, change your community, and ultimately change our country. So it all comes back to you. And yeah, it is a journey. And like, fuck, we talk about it, and like people probably think we talk about it like we're experts, but like we relapse on everything all the time. You just have to go, fuck, all right, back to it. Get back into it, get back to the gym, get back into the ice. Like, it was hard getting back into a cold shower because I did ice baths religiously last year, and then I moved and I didn't have an ice bath. Then it was 6 months without it, and fuck, I was scared of cold water. I was fucking scared of cold water. And like, I did 8 minutes last year on one session. I'm like, how did I get 8 minutes in a bath? Like, I'm like fucking scared of 30 seconds in the shower now. But then slowly, and then, a couple minutes in Melbourne just then, and now I'm ready, getting back in the ice.
Yeah, it's so, that resistance is so funny. Hey, it's never going to leave. Like Joe Rogan says, it's the little bitch that's sitting on your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
And no matter who you are, it's going to be there. These guys, the difference is other people know how to see it, acknowledge it, and go, I can hear, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Or, for me, it's whenever I notice myself saying, oh, fuck that, I'm like, bang.
Yeah. Get back in.
That's my sign. Get in. That's that little monkey. Like, if I ever walk past a bath and I don't even have a thought, then it's like, I'm not going to get in because there was no resistance.
Yeah.
But I see the resistance. I'm like, whoa, there's my opportunity. Go and sit in there. Find some stillness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool. But again, so another topic of my mentor, Keegan Smith, he's big on men committing to a mission.
Yep.
And that mission, like before, not changing the world, that mission is not trying to change the world as a whole, it's changing you first. And whether it's you literally commit to something for 5 days, or you commit to it for 25, or then you push it out to 90 or whatever, it's just have something to commit to and reinforce your decisions. Okay, so I'm going to do this for 5 days. Did you do it? Sweet. You want to go 15? Sweet. And compound your wins until you literally become a different person through routine and habit.
Yep.
And that's the way out of that whole distraction world where you're just constantly getting torn in all these different ways. It's like, pick something and just do it.
Yep.
And then once it's a part of you, add little things in, but don't try and change everything at once, because you'll just get overwhelmed and you'll just, fuck this, and you'll just go back to comfort.
Yeah.
So, and this is why I think Andy Frisella's 75 Hard is so good, but also so challenging for people, because it's a huge step. Like, there's a lot in that.
Yeah.
And I think there's I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure there's a huge fail rate.
Yeah. I imagine there is. I actually don't know anyone who's done it.
Yeah, my mate in Sydney's done like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah,
he's like so juiced up on them.
But they are good. But I've tried to do it twice, and I always just slip something up, and you have to start again from the beginning, and that fucks you up. It's just like, fuck, back to one again. But it's good. Like, I actually recommend it's like one of the best things. But like you said, it's so many things at once. You got to read 10 pages. You got to train twice a day.
5 litres of water, 3 litres of water.
Yeah.
There's a few things in there that I don't agree with. So I've never done it. Because I'm like, I look at it and I go, I wouldn't want to fucking do that because I don't agree with that stimulus on the body.
Yeah.
First of all, because a lot of people, if they complete it, they're going to relapse because Andy, these guys, there's probably people out there sustaining that level of commitment. Where I'm at in my life, I don't want to sustain that as my routine. So I don't actually see any value in committing to it, because after it, there's just going to be a lay period. And unless I had like a specific goal of I needed to do this to get an X result, then I wouldn't commit to it. And that's what I see in a lot of people. It's like, it's an amazing thing, but think about it as, what do you actually want to get out of it? And it's like, if you can structure commitment to get to the result, cool. But if you're just committing to something because, it's 75 hard, cool, I should do it. You're first of all going to push yourself probably way too hard. A lot of people get injured in it because they're doing these crazy sessions twice a day. And I'm like, man, you don't need to be moving your body that much, but there's also like incredible success stories on it. Like, people like just change their whole life on it. So it's like, I think knowing what you're doing and the intention behind it, and then thinking long-term as well, not just like willy-nilly committing to stuff. Like, think out your steps ahead. Be really constructive with what you want to get out of something, and then think about it. It's like, all right, am I committing to for what reason? What result am I going to get? Cool. Can I sustain it? Do I need to have some sort of integration period where I come off it in a way that then I make sure I continue some of the habits? So I'm not just like, hey, I'm done. Sweet. Back to being dumbass. I think that's a really important aspect of goal setting, and it's something that people miss a lot. Is they have these massive commitments and then they go to nothing after. Oh shit, what now? And you can feel depressed after it as well. It's gnarly.
And if you, like you said, if you take small steps, when you do fuck up, it feels more achievable to start again. Like it's like the 5-day thing. If you hit 4 days, you're like, oh fuck, well next time I'll do 5, definitely. And you go for the 5, and then if that was easy, then go for your 10 or whatever. And I think for men especially, I think we get fulfillment out of like building and serving people. So like when you're building yourself, well, you're going to be rippling out you'll be rewarded by achieving that within yourself. So then you're going to be happier to your partner, and then she's going to, that will ripple out by actually being truthful to yourself. So,
the overflowing effect of being a better person inside your own head, knowing that you're doing actions that are helping you, growing you, developing you. You just become a natural presence to be around that's enjoyable. Because you don't. I've found in myself when I'm bang on with everything, and when I'm in flow, and I'm being disciplined and I'm training, man, I don't even have to try. I'm not. It's actually a really good point. I'm not trying. I'm just doing, and I'm just being. Versus trying to get it's like there's this energy of trying instead of just being like, I am who I am, and I'm building these better habits, and I'm making me feeling epic. That's all I have to focus on, and then I'm more calm in my relationships. I'm more still in my own mind. I'm more peaceful with other people. I'm enjoying my own relationship with myself. I'm proud of myself. Cool. This is a really great spot to be. And I think, if guys, if you're listening to this and you're not actually confident in yourself and you're really struggling with that daily choice, just commit to something simple and just commit to it for a small period of time. 5 days. Cool. Knock that off. Now go for 25 days. Cool. Knock that off. Extend it. And then once it's a part of you, you're just going to do it naturally every time you wake up.
100%. And I think one of my favorite quotes, I mean, this is bullshit because I've got so many favorite quotes, but do or do not. There's no try. Yeah. And it's like, it's just so true. It's like, just do the thing or don't do it. Like, don't say, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do this. Like, because once you actually do commit, like Jordan said, like for 5 days, 5 days is like that. Like, I think I'm almost at a month of retention, and 100 days sounds great. Actually, what's funny is I remember Alicia saying, like, you could tell her resistance around it, but she was fully supportive. Like, she's like, oh, fuck, no sex for 100 days. And in my head, I'm thinking, we probably are going to have sex, but I'm not going to say that. And then, our sex life's like actually better than it has been for like 6 months because of it. And my intention isn't to finish. So then your intention changes, and my intention's for her now, which it normally is, but like there's still that part of you which, like, if you can retain from that, and then you can kind of, you go for longer, and then, everything.
That's a big rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a huge rabbit hole. But I want to eventually get to the point where I can, dry orgasm, and then it's just like, but that's hard. And like this, I remember, I've tried it like years ago to get to that point, and I went like too hard. Like, it was like, all right, let's try now. Whereas now I'm just like, I'm just not trying. It's just cut, not having an orgasm, and then slowly I'll get there, because you just fuck it up so many times. Like, oh, maybe I'll push it. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And if you're in your head, you're not having sex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've definitely done that, and I've been in my head too much.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think about, retention or whatever, and it changes the dynamic of it. So it's really interesting as a man, because you do want to improve this. It's a skill set, like not premature ejaculating or not coming too early or not doing this. It's like, it's a massive part of our lives because it's a big part of sex that you don't want to be that as a guy. You want to be able to satisfy your woman and have a deep, intimate relationship without these just premature ejaculation or coming too early or blowing your load and not being able to control and not be deep in a moment without blowing. So that's a big part of it, because as a man you want to get some sort of grip on it, but then if you start thinking about it too much, you're not actually being present at all. And so the whole dynamics of intercourse and having that intimate moment is completely different, because you're in your head, she's trying to be present, she's like, what's going on? So it's definitely a big area, I think, for men to navigate. Because I think it's a rewarding process if you can do it properly and you can get to a point where you can control yourself.
Yeah.
Because those urges, man, those urges are also a metaphor, for life, like excitement and going too hard, too fast, and not being sustainable and not thinking long term, and like all these things also show up in our life. Are you just like go, and not thinking about your actions, or can you? I don't know, presence is probably a big thing about it. Like, because a lot of times they say, just be with your breath and be in the moment.
That's what was coming up for me just then. And I was thinking, how true is it that reflects to everything we've spoken about? Like, you see a pizza and you just kind of come back to your breath and you feel the craving and you just don't eat it today.
Yeah.
Like everything is, when you learn to meditate or breath work for me is harder, but also a lot easier than Vipassana. But it's like, it's easier for me to just do it now, but it's harder in the sense of it's work. So it's like you're going to the gym. But I think if you can just learn to just be with your breath, feel it expand and feel it contract, and you just drop into that the moment you get a craving, the moment you get angry, you just stop, drop into your breath. When you're having sex, if you're just with your breath, it's just, you're completely present. Because it's the only time we can all be present is just observing our breath. And then, like you said, it just becomes so much better.
Yeah, it's some gold right there. Just focus on the breath. And if you just got to catch yourself, you build that skill set. And a lot of people just don't even understand their breath. They don't understand the power in it. They don't understand the awareness it brings, or even it's like hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? But if you breathe, you can actually bring hindsight forward and have foresight. You can actually make those decisions in the moment instead of being like, oh, fuck, I should have done that. It's like breath work brings you into that foresight. So in the moment, you don't just a knee-jerk reaction response or impulse. It's like, okay, there's my there's my response. And that's a big thing. It's a huge thing when it comes to food. It's a huge thing when it comes to emotional, intelligence is like not doing those knee jerk. And I'm not trying to be a guru here. I still fuck up all the time. Don't you worry about that. So I'm still, on the journey myself, as we are in life. But I think the more you can develop those skills, it gives you a bigger window of tolerance. And you build that window of tolerance, and you only get stretched at your edges. If your edges are out here, it's harder to be, rocked. So create that bigger window of tolerance so that when there is stressful environments, or when there is things going down, or when you are triggered or whatever, you've got all this space to work in with awareness and control, instead of being like this always on knife's edge and then just impulse rate.
One of the first things you can do is actually just observing if you're a mouth breather or you're breathing through your nose, because generally people who are so stressed are mouth breathers. They're just shallow breathing through their mouth. But if you can just you just drop straight into presence.
Game changer. Right? I mean, you drop into presence once you've developed it.
Yeah.
Because I personally, going on my own journey with breathwork, I remember when I first started breathwork, it was like fucking hard, and it was confronting. Like taking a deep breath was really hard. Like I'd be like. I was shaky. I had so much anxiety and depression and emotion running, anger through my body that slowing down to take it was really confronting. And so for people who are told just breathe, it's like it actually brings up a lot of shit. And so what's encouraging to hear is that by breathing and focusing on your breathing, you'll start to dissolve that experience. You'll start to work through it. It's not just like a given for everyone, because for some people they're like, I can't take a deep breath, man. No, I'm not doing it. Because it's like, it means they have to like get out of that fight or flight, which is a big switch for their nervous system. It's actually dangerous for their nervous system. Their nervous system is like, we're safe here. We're in control. We know what's happening. And if I slow down, I've got to slow down. I've got to think about things and confront things. So it's like, it's okay. I know it feels weird. Breathe until you feel it. And for people, it can be weeks, man. It can be like I was having people come regularly to breathwork sessions, and 3 or 4 weeks, they're still like, man, I still can't relax. And then finally, by turning up, knowing that it's safe and hearing other people's experiences, and oh shit, they're going through, fuck, we're all in this together. Oh fuck, why am I holding on to that? It's like you got to push against that resistance until it breaks.
What does Joe Dispenza say about the familiarity with exactly what you said, like your body, people become so familiar with anxiety that it becomes so normal to them that when they leave it, it's like that's their safe haven. They go back to it.
Yeah, well, it's a different identity. It's like trying on a new skin. And for some people, it can feel really uncomfortable. Like being, like I mean, this is a pretty blanket statement, but you watch, how many % of men can't sit still? Next time you're sitting in a restaurant, look around and look at the people that are shaking a leg or tapping their fingers.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, you got a lot you got a lot going on, right? Probably some big decisions that you're stewing on. But I would say most guys, it's not over big stuff. Yep. But it's also a good indication that the mind's racing. Yep. Because you can look around and commonly you'll see guys kind of knees tapping, foot tapping, leaning over, tapping their fingers. Yep. And if you were to ask them people to be still, that's going to be super confronting. They're going to sit there and go like, I look like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know exactly. Yeah. So I feel like I'm conscious when I do it. Like I'm conscious that I'm tapping or whatever.
Yeah.
But I can also just stop and just like sit there if I have to for an hour. And I think that is I know exactly what you mean. Like people that are uncomfortable with the stopping.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know what you mean.
Yeah. But you're also very intelligent and you got a lot going on. You got a big decision. You're a hammer. So, that's not to say that energy is a representation of something negative that I would say. I would just say that you've got, subconscious stuff going on, which is huge. You're a businessman, your relationships, all this stuff that you're doing. Yeah. I do recognize it though in people who aren't stable in their emotions. And I notice it in myself. If I haven't done the work to slow myself down, like if I'm thinking about a million different things, some big decisions, and I'm a bit angry, I haven't addressed something, with someone, it might be, a client or a relationship or whatever, and, maybe I'm stewing on something and I haven't addressed it, it'll show up in me. I'll be at like the dinner table, and then what's so cool about awareness now is if I see it, if I feel it, and I'm like, oh, I'm shaking my leg. Okay. What haven't I processed? Yeah. Fuck, I know I need to have that conversation. I know I need to make that call. I know I need to do this. And you're not doing it, so you're not trusting yourself, and you're feeling down in yourself, and you're doubting yourself. That's why it's showing up. It's like boom, 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 boom. And there's some level of anxiety. And I don't think anxiety's a bad thing. No. Anxiety is just a signal. Yeah. So can we pay attention to the signal? Can we dissolve it, resolve it? Sweet, awesome.
It's when we identify with it as if it's like a hold on us. That's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, huge, bro. Huge. So interesting.
It's been a good chat.
Yeah, man.
I think there's a couple more things I just want to, because we're probably reaching that hour, but Indy, is it?
Yeah, Indigo. Yeah.
Indigo. Does he eat a carnivore diet, meat and fruit? Like what's your philosophy there on like what age is okay? Is it like safe for pregnant women? Like what do you think? Or, I mean, you're not
all right. So
saying it, but
yeah, look, I personally wouldn't go blanket statement and say it's good for everyone to just go ahead, right? I think it's like so case dependent. It is so individualized in terms of where people are at in their health, things like medication, all kinds of different scenarios, how well they go with periods without food. Like I'm not saying fasting because it's basically like, are you ruled by food? Are you always hungry? Like, what's your hormone levels? All these different things play into it, right? So I'll start with our philosophy for kids. It's clear, and through the work I've done with Weston A. Price and looking into his research, it's clear that kids who eat a diet high in saturated fat have a greater development of their jaws, of their brains, of basically everything that all the functions in humans as kids growing. Versus if they grow up on a standard Australian diet, standard American diet, whatever, grains, fruits, veggies, sugars, minimal meats. It's pretty clear, and we can look at the rates. We can look at the statistics of health in children. It's the worst it's ever been. Yes, processed food plays into that, but I think there is great value in increasing saturated fats for children in terms of the development of the brain, and also from their satiation. Okay, so not always needing food, but actually supported with their energy and basically all the physiology that's going on. So our philosophy, we followed Weston A. Price's kind of like philosophy on it. It was a lot of fats, it was a lot of proteins and minimal carbs. I think he had like some blueberries and some banana and stuff. He might have had some little bit of sweet potato, but not like loading his plate up with veggies. We wanted as a couple and as his parents to provide his gut microbiome a very good palate for protein and fat before carbs were introduced. So I think he went the first month, 6 weeks, basically just on fats and protein. And then we introduced some blueberries, some avocado. We introduced banana and it blocked him right up. He got constipated from it. So we took that out and resolved that. So it's really interesting as a parent because you can notice things like the consistency of their poo. Like, is it running? Is it stiff? Are they struggling? It's like all this stuff. But for anyone listening, if they are interested, Nourishing Traditions for Children is Weston A. Price's book, and he's literally all the research behind why this stuff's so critical for children and why we've moved away from it in society and why kids are the most, most fucked up ever. If you look at children's health, obesity, learning difficulties like autism, all this stuff is like, it's crazy, man. These young kids, they've not even been on the earth for 7, 8, 9 years, and they're riddled with health issues. It's like, what the fuck is going on? We need to take control. If you're a parent, you need to take responsibility for giving your child the best foundation to continue thriving through life. And by feeding them a standard Australian diet, or by even feeding them just veggies, is crazy. I don't think it's wrong because it's your child, and if you want to do it, go for it. But I think it's absolutely crazy to feed a child that and malnourish them in that way. So for us with Indy, proteins and fats as much as we can. For instance, if we have bolognese, he'll have his protein first, so he'll eat his meat until he's basically full, and sometimes he stops, and that's his dinner.
Before he eats the pasta. But
then every now and then he'll have some gluten-free pasta, because Nick eats a bit of gluten-free pasta with her bolognese. So we noticed that. And it's interesting, right? Because sugar's fucking awesome. Sugar is so good. There is something so addictive about it. Like, they've proven it's more addictive than bloody cocaine. It is like a drug. And so as a human being, especially as a young human being that doesn't have a lot of conscious thought going on yet and the ability to kind of consider things, if we gave him his bolognese with pasta, he would pick the pasta out and eat it first because he knows the carbs. He's like, yep, sweet, and he'll eat he would eat that. But if we don't give him that, if we give him the meat first, he smashes through it, and sometimes he doesn't need the pasta. Every now and then he goes, oh, pasta? I'm like, we'll give him a couple at the end. But that's our philosophy. It's like meat, protein, and fat first, because we want to nourish him with that, help him satiate, give him all the essential amino acids and the nutrients, vitamins that come with it. And then, you can have a bit of sugar, here and there, or some carbs here and there. And look, he's awesome. He's thriving. He's strong. He's fit and healthy. Awesome. And he's a little beast. And he's not like a ragged, like a hammer. He's also calm and loving and extremely generous, and he's awesome. He's my best little mate. I love you. So good. But it is a very interesting. It's interesting playing out these philosophies in your life when you have these views on the world, and then also when you have kids, you've got the responsibility. And a lot of people say, "Oh, he eats a lot of meat." It's like, is that dangerous? I'm like, no, it's not. The research I've done, the studies that I've looked at, and the way the body works, the way I understand it, it's not dangerous. It's actually completely natural for our human evolution to eat this way. We've just been kind of distracted and sent another down this, yellow brick road that's leading us to this bloody fairyland that it's cooking everyone. So it's pretty.
We've got that to look forward to next year, January, Aussie Day.
Oh yeah, really, Congrats.
Thanks, man.
That's huge, bro.
Yeah, should be good.
Dude, that's so good. Congrats, man. It's like,
thanks, man.
Holy shit. I can't explain how fucking epic it is. It is so cool. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, you just can build this incredible bond with these little humans who are they're so pure, man. They just want to have fun. They want to play. They want to love. It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing. And it's beautiful. It's an amazing experience. As hard as it is and as gnarly as it can be, your eyes falling out of your head and whatever, no sleep and frustrations. It is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, awesome.
It is so good.
Final question before we end. What similarities do you see between veganism and carnivore?
Oh, bro, so many. First of all, I think there's no right or wrong. I do know people who eat vegan and feel good. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's about bashing certain sides. Yes, there can be some comedy and some humor from both sides, like taking the piss out of each other. But at the end of the day, I'm like, fuck, if you just want to eat fruits and veggies, go for it. Like, I couldn't care less. And if you feel good on it, awesome. Same with carnivore. Like, I tell people all the time, eat it. If you don't feel good, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't be dogmatic about it. Similarities. Hopefully no processed food. So hopefully we've moved away from shitty processed food. Unfortunately, more commonly than not in the vegan community, they tend to have that kind of like those fake processed foods that are like vegan friendly and healthy. But on the other side, there's also meat, and processed meat is proven to cause issues. So you don't want to be having a lot of processed meats. You want to be having quality, natural, grass-fed, delicious. Definitely thinking about meat, but beautiful meats. You don't want to be having processed stuff. So I think if we can draw a line in like realizing that a whole foods approach, moving away from processed food is beneficial.
Yep.
That's also a win. Moving into other similarities, death for animals. We both care about the planet and animals' lives. On the vegan side, they think that killing animals for food is horrible. And then from my perspective, I think the agricultural and cropping is disgusting. The amount of animal lives that are just decimated in the the process to get the avos on your plate. I think that's much worse than it is nurturing. And this is a funny point because a lot of people say to me all the time, animal cruelty. It's like, do you know what happens in nature? Have you watched what happens to a beast or a cow or something when it gets absolutely mauled in nature? It dies alive having things eat it. Whereas if it's brought up on a regenerative farm, it gets all of these grasslands to graze, it gets looked after, it's in amazing environments. That's an epic life. It's like going to the 5-star bloody resort. And then at the end, bang, gone. It's like versus being out in the wild and getting a leg ripped off and its guts eaten apart by, a wild animal.
And I'm sure the stresses of the animal, because game's normally tougher meat because it's always on edge, always running, always trying to, escape a prey. But a cow's just never got a prey. It's just chilling.
Bro, so they're like maxing out.
Whereas a buffalo or a wild buffalo probably does. It probably is tougher because it's like literally running from lions all the time.
Yeah, I do. That's one piece of advice I say that vegans, if you want to be on a vegan diet, you have to follow Nature is Metal.
Yeah.
Like if you can watch Nature is Metal,
the
Instagram page where it just shows how hectic nature is, and that's where your animals are. Yeah. It's like it's not like this pretty world where they're like never going to die. Like it's gnarly out there, and in fact, we've created a way to heal the earth through regenerative farming if it's done properly and not factory farming. But if you actually look after the land and regenerate it and use ruminant animals to drive carbon back in and have the whole ecosystem support itself, and they have an incredible life. And then we kill one animal and we can nourish a whole family for up to a year. Versus, killing millions of animals to keep the bloody crop of kale and avos and stuff.
Yeah.
I so clearly sit on this side of the fence in my perspective and the way I look at it.
I was vegan for probably 9 months. I didn't go straight to carnivore. Why did I go carnivore? I can't remember, but I did. I think it was just I was just eating shit. I just wanted to try it. And I can say, I felt good vegan, but, I didn't feel as good as I do when I just eat meat all the time. And my arguments still stand as a vegan. It is factory farming is fucking bad.
Shit house.
Monoculture is horrible for commercial large scale kale farms.
Yeah.
They are bad. And like you said, one cow would feed a family of 4 for a year, and it's one death instead of thousands of vegans have to argue that a bug's life is different to a cow's life. So
that's the other thing that I constantly think about. And then, how spiritual do you want to get? Because plants are living things. I used to go to this,
I've eaten enough mushrooms to know plants talk.
Yeah, bro. And I've even seen, I used to go to a sound healing, and they would plug the avocado tree, and they would listen to it sing.
Yeah, yes.
And be like, oh my God, it's singing. I'm like, and you eat it. You're killing an organism, like whether it's an animal or a plant. I just don't. But that, I think there's levels to the awareness. It's like if eating meat makes you bloody cringe, don't do it, but stop ragging on other people. And if as well as carnivores, I couldn't care less if people eat just veggies. Like I'm like, go for it. I'm not going to tell you you're a bad human being because you're not. You're on your own journey, and it doesn't affect me. And if your health tanks, probably worth questioning that identity and making some changes. Same with me. I'll say this always. If I get to I don't believe I will, but if I get to a point where my health tanks, I have to make choices. Health is my value. Health is my priority. I've found that I healed many issues that no one could help me with by going carnivore. Yep. I tried vegan. I tried paleo, I tried keto, I tried all these things, but it was going carnivore that really helped me, and it really got me out of the shit. And so that for me is a value, and if it changes in the future, I'm not attached to it. Yeah. And that's a big skill, I think, as a human being, is to be always a student of life, always open to growth, always open to lessons, and I think that's
questioning what you do to make sure you can improve.
100%. So yeah, man, I think there's a lot of similarities between different diets. Yeah. And the main one is that we truly care about being healthy, and we want to be our best selves. And, a lot of people want to care for the planet and care for animals as well. And we have different opinions there, but there's similarities. So, yeah.
Thanks, brother, for coming on.
Congrats, bro. I'm like, I don't know if you can see how much I'm frothing for you, but I'm like, yes, you got it all ahead of you. Yeah. It is so epic. I can't wait to we'll connect, obviously, but I can't wait to see how you go.
Do another one in a year and tell everyone how good we are. Anyway, all right, that was awesome. I think I don't even know if it covered the topics we wanted to, but it covered a lot that I definitely didn't know I wanted to, and definitely happy that we're on there. So we opened up about a few things, and hope everyone enjoys it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone.